Welcome to this session on banking and consumer. In this session, we will understand the basics of banking in relation to customer services, the nature of complaints, and the redressal mechanism available to consumers in the banking sector. Let us understand what is a bank and what do they provide. We all use services of the banks in our day-to-day life. Banks are the financial lifeline of the country. They provide various kinds of financial services, and their aim is to satisfy consumers' needs and wants. The needs and wants of the consumers are mainly financial in nature. It's important to understand as to who is a customer and who is a consumer of the bank. To be a customer of the bank, a person must have some sort of an account in the bank. While on the other hand, to be a consumer, one need not have an account, but he avails only banking services like in the case of getting a bank draft, a credit card, loan, etc. Due to globalization and privatization, banks are facing a number of challenges. One of the major challenges relates to young consumers. Today, consumers are different. They are more demanding. They are tech savvy. The young consumers need different kind of services that were being provided by the banks. You also have large number of financially illiterate customers, especially after the government scheme of PM Jan Dhan Yojana. Large number of illiterate Indians have become customers of the banks. Therefore, the bank has to deal with such customers who do not understand basics of banking or basic principles of banking. As you know, this is a time of ICTC. Therefore, technology upgradation is also one of the major issues. Large number of bankings have now technology application. Non-banking products like insurance, mutual funds, etc. have also come to be given by the banks, which were not a part of the banking. Banking as a financial service provider are dynamic and changing fast because of the reasons that have been cited. Time and technology, especially in present socio-economic scenario, makes a lot of difference for banking services. Banks have to increase their customer base, therefore they have to provide better services, quicker services, services that meet consumers' interest. Banks have an additional responsibility to be proactive, progressive, sensitive, and compassionate too. Let us see the nature of banking service complaints that come. As I said earlier, all of us use banking services, and I'm sure we all have had some kind of complaint sometime or other. Some of the major complaints against the banks are unilateral change of service charges without information to consumers, delay in conveying non-sanctioning or sanctioning of loan. It's a major problem that it takes a lot of time for loans to be sanctioned. Delay in conveying non-sanctioning of loans is a major issue either. Unilateral increasing of fixed interest rates without informing customers. Non-recording of same in loan agreement and sanction letter. Selling of an incubated property by banks. Levying of supervision charges in housing loan account in addition to processing charges and service charges not mentioned in sanction letter. This is also very common, that a lot of things are not mentioned in the sanction letter, but the banks go on changing the service charges and others. Charging of higher rate of interest than agreed upon. Lockers, failed ATM payment, etc. are also very common problems being faced by the consumers. Closing of account without account holder's instructions. We have also seen that in many of the banks, the account is closed without the account holder asking them to do it. Another kind of complaint coming to the banks is refusal of checkbook to customer in branch or insistence of bank by dispatch of checkbook by courier or speed post. Non-issue of NOC for loan payment is also a kind of complaint that we see. The others are non-release of documents even after getting all loan payment, delayed non-transfer of account from one bank to another bank in time, Non-compliance of customers' standing instructions to debit of account for payment credits to as directed. These days, a lot of net banking goes on. Therefore, customers issue instructions to the bank to debit. A rude behavior causing mental agony and discomfort. This is also mainly faced by the frontline staff where the behavior is not consumer friendly. A wrong credit to an account instead of directed one, that also is a big problem these days. So you see that there are a large number of complaints the banks are facing. Let us examine the institutional framework to safeguard customer or consumer of banking services. RBI issues guidelines from time to time about the customer service. So RBI is essentially the regulator of banks, and they have been issuing guidelines from time to time to ensure that customer services are provided, customers are happy, their grievances are redressed. RBI introduced the Banking Ombudsman Scheme in 1995. In a service industry, the customer may not always be right, but how you respond can make all the difference. As far as the RBI banking services customer is concerned, safeguarding stability and protecting consumer is at the core of RBI functions. To improve customer services, a number of committees and commissions have been constituted from time to time. Some of the important committees are: in 1975, Talwar Committee was appointed by Government of India. Gulperia Committee was appointed in 1990 by RBI. Tarapur Committee went into some of the issues relating to customer services in 2004. It was also appointed by RBI. You had a working group on customer services in 2006. It was also appointed by RBI. Another major committee that went into the domain of customer service relates to Damodaran Committee in 2010. So you see that there are a large number of committees that have been appointed by the RBI to ensure that customer services are better, customers get the value for money, and they do not run around to redress their grievances. For RBI, redressal of consumer complaint is most important, and therefore a three-tier complaint system has been set up. Tier 1, essentially, if a consumer has a complaint, he can file a complaint at the branch or to the nodal officer of the branch. That's the first tier. The second tier relates to banking ombudsman. If the consumer is not satisfied with the reply of the branch or of the nodal officer, he can file a complaint to the designated banking ombudsman. And the third tier is you have the Consumer Protection Act of 2019, under which you have consumer dispute commissions, where the consumer can file a complaint and the commissions. Apart from these, there are other mechanisms a consumer can approach to redress his grievances. As I said, Consumer Protection Act is one of the major acts that deals with the complaints of the service sector. You also have the Banking Ombudsman Scheme, then Banking Code and Standards Board of India, Deposit Insurance, Consumer Protection and Education Department that takes care of consumers' education. If you look at the Banking Ombudsman Scheme, it was introduced in 2006 with object of enabling quick and cost-free resolution of banking services complaints, resolving disputes through the process of conciliation, mediation, and arbitration in respect of deficiencies in customer service. Banking Ombudsman issue awards wherever it decides after going through the complaint, grievances, and comments of the bank. They are appointed by RBI. They are senior officers of the bank in the rank of CGM or GM, and Banking Ombudsman is a quasi-judicial body. The whole concept of Banking Ombudsman Scheme is applicable to all banks, including scheduled banks, cooperative banks, and other banks. BOS is primarily a forum of resolution of dispute complaint regarding deficiencies in banking service. Essentially, it covers 27 grounds. For example, non-payment or inordinate delay in payment or collection of checks, draft bills, etc. Failure to issue of draft pay orders or banker's check, non-adherence to prescribed working hours, levying of charges without adequate notice to the consumer, refusal to open deposit account without any reason for refusal, refusal to close or delay in closing the account. So therefore you see that to redress consumer complaints, the Reserve Bank has come up with a large number of measures, and the Banking Ombudsman is one of the major steps where the redressal of complaints of the banks are taken up. So therefore the consumers of the bank have various rights, and also a mechanism has been provided to redress their grievances to their satisfaction.